Simon carried the cross of Jesus. His sons are named in your Bible. He was from Cyrene. Cyrene is in North Africa. Your church showed you a European man. Mark chapter 15, verse 21. Simon of Cyrene, father of Alexander and Rufus. Mark names his sons. Named people in your Bible, known to the early church. African. Romans 16, verse 13. Paul greets Rufus, outstanding in the Lord, and his mother, who has been a mother to me also, Simeon, in Rome, leading the church. Acts chapter 8. Philip meets an Ethiopian official on a desert road, reading Isaiah on his chariot. The first Gentile the gospel reached was African. He was reading Isaiah 53, the suffering servant. Philip explained it. The Ethiopian believed, was baptized, and carried the gospel back to Africa before Paul went anywhere. Acts chapter 13. The church at Antioch had 5 leaders. Simeon, called Niger. Niger is Latin for black. One of the 5 leaders of the most important Gentile church was black. Lucius of Cyrene, also in Acts 13, also from North Africa, also a leader of the Antioch church. 2 of the 5 leaders were African. Your church built its mission from his church. The Antioch church sent Paul. Paul reached Europe. Europe became Christian. The African church leaders commissioned the mission that built Western Christianity. Your church never told you. North Africa produced the greatest theologians of the early church. Tertullian, Origen, Augustine, all African. Your church quotes them every Sunday without knowing where they were from. Augustine was from Thagast, modern Algeria. His mother Monica was Berber, North African. The theology your church is built on came from an African man and his African mother. The Council of Carthage, 397 AD. African bishops decided which books entered your New Testament. Your canon was decided in Africa by African church leaders. When did your church tell you any of this? When did your pastor name Simon's sons? When did they preach Simeon Niger's leadership? The silence is the evidence. The erasure was gradual. As Christianity moved north into Europe, it was redrawn in. European images, European faces, European settings. The African origin disappeared behind the European presentation. Christianity did not come to Africa as a foreign religion. Africa was present at the birth. The cross was carried by an African. The first convert was African. Africa was their first. The Ethiopian church is one of the oldest in the world, dating to the Ethiopian eunuch's return in Acts 8. Unbroken, continuous, 2,000 years. Your church called Africa a mission field. Every black Christian who has ever been told their people came to faith through slavery needs to read Acts 8. The gospel reached Africa before it reached Europe. Thomas Oden, How Africa Shaped the Christian Mind. 2007. His conclusion, Africa is not a recipient of the gospel. Africa is a source of it. Mainstream scholarship. Your church never told you. Tell me in the comments. Did your church ever name Simon of Cyrene as African? Did you know the first Gentile convert was Ethiopian? Does this change how you see the early church? The next video, the 4 Gospels contradict each other on the resurrection morning. The most important event in Christianity. 4 accounts for different stories. We go through every contradiction. Vince Bantu, a multitude of all peoples. The African church was not peripheral. It was central. The evidence is in your Acts, in your Romans, in your Bible. It was always there. Simon of Cyrene's sons Alexander and Rufus are named because they were known. Mark names them because his readers knew them. The African family of the cross carrier was famous in the early church. The Ethiopian eunuch was a court official of Candace, Queen of Ethiopia. He controlled the royal treasury. He was powerful, educated, and he was the first Gentile to receive the gospel. After baptism, Acts 8 says he went on his way rejoicing. He carried the gospel back to the court of Ethiopia. The first missionary journey in Acts went to Africa, before Europe. Origen, greatest biblical scholar of the early church, from Alexandria, Egypt. African. Your church quotes his interpretations every week without knowing he was African. Tertullian, father of Latin Christian theology. From Carthage, North Africa, he invented the word Trinity. The most important theological word in your church came from an African man, Augustine of Hippo. His Confessions, his City of God, his theology of grace and original sin, the foundation of Western theology, written in North Africa by an African man. The church that most shaped Western Christianity was in North Africa. Alexandria, Carthage, Hippo. These were the intellectual centers. These were African cities. These were African Christians. When a European church called Africa a mission field, it was sending missionaries to the continent that had been Christian for 15 centuries. The arrogance of that erasure is documented. Your Bible names them: Simon, Alexander, Rufus, the Ethiopian official, Simeon, Niger, Lucius, 6 African figures named in your Bible. Your church skipped every single one. Read Acts 8. Read Acts 13. Read Mark 15 verse 21. Read Romans 16 verse 13. The African presence in your New Testament is not hidden. It was never taught. There is a difference. Every black Christian who was told their people had no connection to the faith before slavery. This video exists for you. Africa was at the cross. Africa received the gospel first. Subscribe if this raised questions your church never gave you space to ask. The evidence is in your Bible. Every video on this channel exists to show you what was always there. The next video, the 4 Gospels contradict each other on the resurrection morning. 4 accounts for different stories. We go through every contradiction with the verses. Africa did not receive Christianity from Europe. Africa helped build Christianity for Europe. That is not revisionism. That is Acts chapter 13 verse 1. Your church is built on African shoulders. Tertullian gave it language. Origen gave it interpretation. Augustine gave it doctrine. Simon carried its cross. The Ethiopian received its first message. Read your Bible with African eyes. The cross-bearer was African. The first convert was African. The church that launched the mission was led by Africans. It was always there. Whatever your background, the African presence in the early church is documented. Named in your Bible. Your church made choices about what to teach. Now you know what they chose to skip. Simon of Cyrene carried the cross of Jesus. His sons led the Roman Church. His family name is in your Bible. Africa was not a footnote. Africa was a foundation stone. The African disciples were always in your Bible. Simon, the Ethiopian, Simeon, Niger, Lucius, their names are there. They were waiting for someone to read them out loud. Africa was there when the cross was carried. Africa was first to receive the gospel. Africa built the theology. Your church forgot to tell you. Now you know.